Tekmetric versus Mitchell1. I know a lot of you are either trying to decide which one to choose, or you might know someone trying to make a decision about the two. Some context, I have no affiliation with either company. I've just worked inside a shop using both tools, and wanted to also caveat it with both companies, great companies, they've got great people, and there are people on both sides of the line that are huge evangelists of each software. With that said, I'm just going to share some of the pros and cons and trade-offs that happen when we're talking about day-to-day use of either software. Biggest trade-off that I found right off the bat is with Tekmetric, it's cloud-based. So what does that mean? It essentially means you can access it from anything with an internet connection. Obviously, like, it might show up a little bit different on the mobile phone or your iPhone or whatever, but you can access it from anywhere. Mitchell1, at least in my experience, it's a desktop application. So that means, for example, if you want to check something in Mitchell1, well, if you only have it installed at the shop computer, well, you got to wait till you get to the shop and you can go into the computer and see what's going on there. Now, if we look at each software from a day-to-day perspective, we're talking about for reporting, inspections, like RO management. Tekmetric kind of has this everything under one roof, which works if that works for you. Mitchell1 is a little bit more modular. So what that means is, for example, you might have your core shop management system features out of like the Mitchell1 software. But then if you want to do like DVIs, then you might get an add-on like bolt-on. This has trade-offs in the sense that this way you technically only have to pay for what you actually want. Some people like having everything in one package. Others like having kind of blocks to buy of different features. So it just depends on what works for you. Last difference is the overall design of each software. I personally found Tekmetric to be easier to get used to, know how to find reports, know where to look at the job board and all that. It was kind of like I didn't have to think too much. With Mitchell1, I personally found that there's a steeper learning curve. Like I had to spend more time figuring out this is how I find those reports. This is how I find calendar view. This is how I find the DVI tool like bolt-on. And so it was a little bit harder for me to personally ramp up on. Ultimately, either of these tools can work great if the shop can like commit to using it. What that means is they use it correctly as an owner, their employees use it correctly. And if you're not really sure like what works for you, my recommendation is figure out what are all your standard procedures that you have people doing daily or weekly or whatever the cadence is, and use that as like a list of requirements of all the things you need to be able to do, and use that as your North Star for figuring out which tool is best for you.